And that's what we're supposed to do. And when you think about it, if you assume that's their best offer, why in the world did we see it 4 weeks into a lockout? Why didn't we see it on September 14th or August the 10th or July 13th or whenever it was that they made their proposal for the 24% rollback? I can't answer that question. Wish I could, but I don't know what the answer is. So where we are is that they've told us what they've told us. We will report to the players, as we always do, and we will go from there. We're available to continue negotiating. We're going to have to continue negotiating, whether it's tomorrow or the next day or next week or whenever it is, until eventually an opportunity arises to make an agreement. But today is not a good day. It should have been, but it wasn't. I can take questions for a few minutes. I don't have an unlimited amount of time because I've got a call with players starting fairly soon. Yes?
Don, why did you elect to go with 3 alternatives today rather than just picking one of them and going forward with that?
Question was, why did we go with 3 alternatives today instead of just picking one of them? The answer is really simple. It is to say, we'd like to make a deal with you. We think there's 3 alternatives, and we hope we can live with any one of them if it provides the right kind of negotiating framework. So pick one. That's what we did.
Was there any chance of a 4th possible offer that was supposed to be given to the NHL today?
Was there? Oh, we've discussed any number of additional alternatives over time, but these were the 3 that were settled on.
Yes. Don, would you consider the 3rd proposal the closest thing to working off their framework, honoring contracts and going 50-50?
It is in the sense that if they would agree to do that and segregate on the existing contracts those dollars, you could get to 50-50 on the remaining issues faster. Oh, sure. In that sense it is. Beyond that, you'd have to look at it in the beginning. But I want to remind you what's also in their framework. Free agency takes a lot longer. Don't have salary arbitration as often. Restricted free agency is less valuable. You can't have a contract of longer than 5 years, notwithstanding all the owners that sign players to contracts much longer than 5 years this summer, including some that were in the room today. So, you know, there's a lot of other things that would have to go with it.
Don, you say that they've said they're open to tweaking their offer. Why don't you work on their framework, but offer like a variation of your own where you offer far more than a tweak? At least then you're speaking the same language.
I don't know what we will eventually do. I don't know what the owners will eventually do. But if you had been in the room, the vibe you would have gotten is, unless you're prepared to sign with very minor variations, don't bother us.
Don, what did you think of the league's decision to publish their last offer in full?
They're entitled to do that. It's entirely up to them. I got no comment on it one way or another. That's, you know, it's entirely their judgment about it.
So what happens now? We just wait for a new offer, or we present something new?
What happens now is, first of all, on our side, we communicate with the rest of the membership. Obviously, we will communicate with their agents too, because they speak with their agents. We'll let them know what the circumstances are. We'll do that for as long as it takes, and then we'll go back to work and see if we can figure out something else that matters. And I hope and assume that the owners are doing the same thing. Now, you know, this late blooming 50-50 offer sort of looks like what happened in some other negotiations recently. You know, so I'm not sure what it means, but we will see. We've also suggested to them that we meet and talk about some of the things on their revenue sharing proposal, which were not clear. And I don't mean clear in the sense I think of being intentionally muddled. I just mean they were described in only a very cursory way, and we have to talk those through before we can respond on that. In addition, we have to talk to them about the HRR clarifications. They would like to clarify the definitions, and as far as I know, there are some issues which involve not insubstantial amounts of money on which we don't have an agreement. So that has to be done too. I have to see.
After all the years you've been through this super surprised. Is anything honestly surprised you in all the years in baseball?
What did I say I was surprised about? Okay, I didn't think I had. That's why I asked. Yeah.
What was different from what the NHL? Does anyone surprise you?
Look, I've been around this block long enough to know that anything can happen in bargaining, that when somebody takes a hard stand like the owners have taken, you have to assume they mean it, and you go from there. It doesn't mean you make an agreement which is not in the interests or consistent with the desires of the players, and you go from there. I had hoped, that the approaches we've taken today would put us within range. So far, apparently, it's not true.
All three proposals mostly dealing with the player share and core economic. It didn't have the...
Yes. And we deliberately said this is what we wanted to give them today. We'd be prepared to talk about the other ones as soon as they're ready to.
That offer that they made Tuesday isn't acceptable now. Why would it have made a difference if it was offered in July?
Now, that wasn't the point. I don't think it would have been accepted in July. All I'm saying is that if you are negotiating to try and save the season and go on with your business, and you have a best offer, you would think you would want to get it out there before a month into a shutdown. Sorry.
You're saying that they waited 4 weeks into the lockout to put an offer forward. Could you not have put an offer forward?
If we had been in position to do this ahead of time, we would have.
I just want to clarify what you said about not jumping on the other. I wanted to know the general reaction of the 5-year contract maximum, or did you really not even?
That was not discussed today. It was not discussed today. The general reaction, is pretty simple. It's an artificial limitation. It's another artificial limitation on a player's ability to contract. We already have the overall cap. We already have the share. We already have the team caps. We already have the limitations on how contracts can be structured. And this would be just another one, and it's another one which works against the players. And interestingly enough, it's exactly contrary to what all kinds of clubs were doing all summer, including teams owned by owners who are at the bargaining table.
What's your reading on when these guys are going to be playing hockey again?
I don't know, and when I figure that out, I think I'll tell them first, if that's all right. I hope it's very soon. I hope it's very soon. The history of labor relations is that you never know when a break's going to come, and sometimes it doesn't come for a while, and sometimes it doesn't come suddenly. You just got to work at it every day.
We saw the league go public with their proposal. Will you guys go public with your 3 proposals in line?
We haven't thought about that yet beyond what I'm saying here. The first thing we're going to do is talk to the players, and then we'll make a judgment about that after that. As I said before, they can go public or not go public. It's entirely up to them, and it's not for me to say.
How important is it for the membership to have an 82-game schedule?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How important is it for the membership to have an 82-game schedule?
Look, it's really, I come at it from a very simple proposition. Everybody would like an 82-game schedule. It's better for the business. It's better for the game. It provides a more equitable and a tried and true way to determine which teams get into the playoffs and all the rest of it. So it has importance in and of itself that should not be ignored. Nobody questions that. The question is, does that overcome problems that are there with a contract that the players don't believe is fair, don't believe is balanced, and don't believe is in their interest?
Do they reject the explanation, or did they just simply reject it?
They said they rejected it, that they told us before that this was their best offer, that we could tweak around the edges, but that was all. And with a suggestion that they would look again at the make-whole provision if we would sign on the dotted line for everything else that's in there. But nothing specific on that. So there wasn't an opportunity to have the kind of the discussion you just asked me about. All right, I got time for maybe one more before I go upstairs. This side's been underrepresented. Yeah.
Example of something they're trying to do regarding HR that does have a price tag?
Well, just for example, we have questions about the subsidies that municipalities pay teams, whether they call them arena agreements or anything else. And we almost had an arbitration hearing a couple of years ago over the Glendale subsidy, which is a direct subsidy for failure to sell tickets and all the rest of it. That's many millions of dollars a year. That's one of the things that I understand has not been agreed to and resolved going forward. And of course, it would cover any other situation like that. So that's one of the things that we have to resolve. If in fact, when the staffs get together, we find out that the differences are less than they have been in these discussions, that'd be great. But as far as I know, those issues have not been agreed upon as of now.
The offer allows you to agree mutually, that phrase they have.
Well, what it says is their offer is contingent upon an agreement by us and them on the clarifications. And I'm not knocking them for that. That's how you would normally condition an agreement. But we don't have, so far as I know, that agreement.